There is a secret that modern life hides from you, and finding out it can completely free your soul. As long as you run after goals, likes, and bills to pay, there is an invisible arrest shaping every choice of yours. And the worst? You call it normality. But there is a way out, and if you watch it to the end, you will understand how to break these invisible currents and see the freedom that has always been within you. Before continuing, click the subscribe button if you want to unlock a magical secret. Have you ever wondered why, even with so much technology, comfort, and digital connections, the feeling of empty never disappears? It is as if there is an invisible gear that holds us, a current that is not seen, but that you feel every day, the alarm that pulls you out of sleep before the body is ready, the crowded transportation, endless traffic, the office lit by artificial lamps, a sequence that seems life, but most resembles a ritual of domestication. No one told you, but there is a secret hidden in the structure of modern life, a secret that does not appear in the newspapers, nor the self-help manuals, but that shapes every choice of yours. This secret is simple, brutal, and almost imperceptible. Modernity was not made for your freedom, but for your obedience. Think to me, when was the last time you heard the singing of a bird without haste? When was the last time you felt the earth on your feet without looking at the clock? Modern life has transformed essential experiences into occasional luxuries and made simplicity sold as a privilege. The secret is this: you are not free, but not in the obvious sense of iron bars. The arrest of modern life is made of algorithms, commitments, goals, and debts. A prison that teaches you how to run without ever coming. Thoreau already said that most men live in silent despair, and maybe you also feel that deep restlessness, which appears when the house is silent, when the cell phone runs out of battery, when no one looks at you. It is in these moments that the secret whispers, "This life is not yours. It is borrowed by the system." And here is the uncomfortable revelation. Modern life steals from you the most precious time, the time of being. It offers you distractions in exchange for silence. It offers screens in exchange for the sky. It offers status in exchange for soul. But there is a way, and who discovers this path does not see the world again in the same way. It is about this path that we will walk together chapter after chapter. And I already warn you, if you continue, you won't be able to unravel what you will see. Because the secret is not just about modern life, it's about you, the invisible arrest of everyday life. Look around you. Everything seems normal, civilized, organized, but is it really? What you call routine is perhaps just the most sophisticated form of incarceration ever created. You wake up with the alarm. This small device decides when your eyes should open, even when your body begs for a few more minutes of rest. She is hurrying, swallows a flavorless coffee, wears clothes chosen not for pleasure, but by convention. He leaves the house, mixes in the crowd. Cars, horns, subway, hasty steps, a ballet choreographed by the hurry. And all this in the name of what? Of a salary that evaporates the same moment as it enters the account. This is the first sign of invisible imprisonment. Modern life has transformed time into commodity. Your time is no longer yours. You sell it, day after day, in exchange for survival. But deep down, something in you knows. It's not just the time being sold. It is your whole life. And here comes the cruel part. You have learned to call it normality. Normality became a golden cell. You have Netflix, delivery, social networks, but there is no silence. You have Wi-Fi, but there is no forest. You have thousands of virtual friends, but you miss a single real conversation. Modern prison does not need grids. It only needs enough distractions so that you never question the structure. This is how freedom dissolves, not in wars, but in small daily concessions. With each notification answered, with each deadline, with each hit goal, you reinforce the invisible walls surrounding your own existence. And the most curious, you convince yourself that you have chosen this life. But did you really choose? Or was it led to believe that there was no alternative? Thoreau abandoned the city and went to live on the fringes of a lake because he understood a truth that society does not admit. The more you move away from nature, the closer to prison you are. Modern life trained you to seek freedom in consumption, accumulation, status. But this is not freedom. It is just another form of dependence. And I need to warn you, recognizing the prison is painful. You may feel angry, you may be afraid, you may even deny it. But only when you look at the invisible walls do you discover the exit. And what happens when someone tries to escape? This is a part that few have the courage to know. Dramatic break. In the next chapter, I will show you what happens to those who dare to break the currents. But beware, once you know that, you will never be able to look at your routine with the same eyes. The silent rebels. Have you ever noticed how society treats those who decide to live outside the chain? They are called crazy, lazy, maladjusted. But aren't they just the only lucid ones? Imagine someone who leaves a stable job, sells almost everything he has, and will live in a cabin inside. The whole city comments it has lost its head. But what in fact is crazy? Work 40 years in something you hate, in exchange for a retirement that may never enjoy, or choose simplicity and live what is desired in advance. The truth is that those who escape become dangerous. Dangerous not because they threaten order with violence, but because they reveal, with the example, that there is an alternative. And nothing scares the system more than the possibility that you realize that it is possible to live in another way. These silent rebels do not appear in the news. They are scattered around the world, anonymous, cultivating gardens, writing in diaries, walking through forests. They don't have to scream. Your own life is a cry against collective illusion. And here is the point. Modern life fears silence, because silence is revolutionary. In silence, you hear your own voice, perceive the lies of watches, recognize the manipulation of advertisements. In silence, you find out who you are without the labels that have imposed you. But most flee from silence as one runs away from an abyss, turns the TV, opens the feed, increases the volume of music. Anything not to listen to the so-called interior. The secret of modernity is to keep you always too busy to think, and the few who stop to think are the ones that escape. Maybe inside you there is already this call. Maybe you feel that the life that leads is not totally yours, and maybe you theme to take the first step because you know that in doing so, there will be no return. The system will always try to pull it back. It will use the blame, "Swite, you are wasting your potential." It will use the fear, "You will starve." Will use the trial, "You go crazy." But remember, every great change begins with intimate disobedience. Not a rebellion against others, but against the lie you accepted as truth. And if you dare to take this step, you will notice something extraordinary. Freedom is no longer in conquering, but in needing less. Long silence, almost uncomfortable. In the next chapter, I will reveal why simplicity is the most radical path that exists, and how it dismantles the whole logic of modern life. Prepare. What you will hear may seem dangerous, because it is. The revolution of simplicity. Have you ever noticed how the modern world confuses value with accumulation? The more you have, the more important it seems to be. More clothes, more devices, more titles, more followers. But this race has an invisible price. Each new object requires a piece of your life. Think the last time you bought something I found essential. In the early days, it brought a sense of conquest, but he soon lost his shine, and a void again bothered. This is the consumption cycle, a promise of happiness that expires fast and pushes you to pursue more and more. But here is the revelation that almost no one counts. True wealth is not what you accumulate, but what you can live without. Simplicity is not poverty, it is power. Because when you need little, no one can control you. There is no boss, there is no advertising, no government capable of manipulating those who do not thirsty for consumption. Therefore, simplicity is revolutionary. It cuts the root of modern prison. It breaks the gear that transforms free men into productive slaves. Thoreau understood this when he built his cabin by Walden Lake. He did not seek isolation by escape, but for clarity. When living with the necessary only, he discovered an abundance that the city would never offer. The abundance of time, presence, the real connection with nature. And you, could you do it? Would you have the courage to give up certain possessions to gain something more precious than any material good? Your own life back? Simplicity is like a cruel mirror. It reveals how much of what you really have. How many hours have you changed for objects that are forgotten today in drawers? How many days of your youth have been delivered in exchange for symbols that say nothing about who you are? The secret is that simplicity is not about losing, but about recovering. Recover the silence. Recover the time. Recover the ability to feel P-Razor in the little things, the wind on the face, the laughter of a conversation, the peace of a sunset. But beware, choosing simplicity is a subversive act, because you are no longer predictable. and the system depends on predictable people to continue working. This is why few choose this path, because it requires courage to be different in a world that worships success. Long pause, as if looking into the eyes of those who hear. In the next chapter, I will show you the hidden enemy that makes you believe that you cannot live without what, in fact, only imprisons you. Get ready. This enemy is not out there. He lives inside you. The hidden enemy. You may think that modern prison has been built by governments, companies, or algorithms, and in part, it's true, but there is an even more dangerous enemy, one that lives much closer than you think. It is inside you. This enemy is the voice that says, you need more to be happy. You can't stop now. What if it goes wrong? What if they laugh at you? It is the voice of comparison, fed early on. At school, you learned that you needed to be better than others. In adulthood, he learned that he needed to have more than them. Thus, the comparison became a habit, and the habit became addiction. This enemy does not rest. It makes you roll the phone screen for hours, seeking approval. It makes you buy things you don't need to impress people who don't even care. It makes you accept jobs, appointments, relationships, not because it makes sense, but because it fears being left behind. Modern life knows this. It feeds this enemy every day as one who fatten an invisible monster. Advertisements, metrics, likes, rankings, awards, all built to inflate their insecurity. The more you feel something is missing, the easier it is to control you. But here is the secret that almost no one dare to say. The enemy is not real. It is just a reflection created by fear. He has no body, has no face. It is made of thoughts you believed without question. And when you realize that, something extraordinary happens. The enemy loses strength, because what feeds it is not the truth, but its belief in it. Thoreau wrote, "A man is rich in proportion to the number of things he can give up." But I would add, a man is free to the extent that he silences the internal enemy who convinces him that he needs to be someone who is not. Ask yourself, who would you be without that voice? Who would you be if you didn't have to prove anything to anyone? Who would you be if you lived only according to the call of your soul? Perhaps this is the most dangerous question you've ever heard, because it cannot be answered with words but with choices. And when you dare to choose, the enemy will disappear. Slow pause, almost whispered. In the next chapter, I will reveal you the price of facing this enemy. Because it is not enough to recognize it, you need to disarm it. And for that, you will have to touch the deepest wound in modern life, the fear of loneliness. The fear of loneliness. Of all fears that modern life has planted in you, perhaps the deepest is being alone. Not alone of people, but alone with oneself. Because in the silence of loneliness, there are no distractions, there are no screens, no noise. There is only you, and that, for many, is unbearable. This is why society invented an antidote for every moment of emptiness. If you feel alone, there is a notification. If you feel anxious, there is a video. If you feel sad, there is a purchase. All so you never face the mirror of loneliness. But the great irony is that we were never so surrounded and so lonely. Thousands of friends online, but almost no look that sustains yours for more than 3 seconds. Hundreds of messages, but very rare conversations that touch the heart. The noise of the world has never been so high, and yet inner silence has never been so deep. The fear of loneliness is the food of the hidden enemy. It is he who makes you accept empty relationships, jobs that exhaust you, routines that steal you, because anything seems better than confrontation with yourself. But Thoreau understood the opposite. For him, loneliness was not absence, but presence. It was the state in which the soul finally hears itself. It was proof that the human being does not need the crowd to be whole. And perhaps this is the most dangerous secret of all. Solitude is the portal of freedom. When you stand to stay with yourself, nothing else can imprison you. No opinion controls you. No advertising seduces you. No comparison drags you, because you found that the source is inside, and what comes from outside is just echo. But beware. Crossing this portal requires courage. At first, silence may seem like an abyss. You will feel restless, anxious, even lost. This is because the internal enemy struggles not to die. He whispers, "You can't stand it." He invents urgency A's, creates distractions, calls for company. But if you resist, if you stay, something changes. Suddenly, the abyss reveals that it was, in fact, a mirror. And for the first time, you see yourself without masks. no social roles, without performance, just you. And at that moment, a new danger arises. Because those who discover this strength can no longer live the same way, and modern life hates those who no longer depend on it. Deep pause as if a revelation were about to be done. In the next chapter, I will show you the reaction of the system against those who dare to embrace loneliness, and you will understand why the world insists on calling strangers those who found true freedom, the strangers of society. Note how society treats those who do not follow the script. They are labeled eccentric, crazy, useless. But deep down, these labels are just strategies to ward off the danger of a living example. Because a man or woman who lives in simplicity, who finds pleasure in silence, that is enough in his loneliness, is a threat. They do not buy without need. They are not manipulated by fear. They don't have to prove anything to anyone. And the system doesn't know what to do with people like that. Thoreau was called eccentric when he decided to live in his cabin. Monks who retire to the desert were called crazy. Modern nomads, which give up careers to live traveling, are called irresponsible. But who are the real strangers? Those who seek inner freedom, or those who day after day run in circles without knowing where they go. Modern life has horror to those who do not consume, and is terrified of those who do not fear loneliness. Because these people reveal speechless that the gear can be turned off. And if more people realize this, the whole system would collapse. This is why the strangers are marginalized, not with visible arrests, but with mockery, exclusion, judgment. The collective laugh is the first wall of normality, and many, afraid of being ridiculed, prefer to fit into the scam. But I need to tell you something that can change your vision. The strangers are the pioneers. They see before, they feel before, they dare first. And maybe you have already felt this call, that feeling of not fitting anything. To look around and ask himself, is that all? This discomfort is not defective. It is a sign. It is the echo of freedom knocking on your door. But there is a price, because the more you wake up, the more you realize the distance between you and the others. And this distance hurts. It hurts because it reveals that in your search for freedom, you may have to give up acceptance. Are you willing to be called strange to finally be true? Prolonged silence, almost provocative. In the next chapter, I will show you what happens when someone chooses to cross this limit. The moment when the strange is no longer just different and becomes a dangerous mirror for all humanity. There is something disturbing to be before someone who dared to be free. It's not just admiration, it's discomfort, because suddenly you realize everything that could be, but it is not. This is why the strangers are not just marginalized, they are fought. His presence, silent and simple, exposes the collective farce, and no one likes to see his own captivity reflected in a human mirror. Imagine a man who leaves the city and comes to live simply. He plants, builds, contemplates. You don't need diplomas, status, or debts. When someone visits him, he returns, not from what he heard, but from what he saw. His tranquility becomes a silent accusation. Your peace bothers you because it denounces our restlessness. This is the dangerous power of the mirror. It does not lie. He shows how fragile the race is. It shows that you may be spending a lifetime chasing things that don't matter, and facing this is too painful for most. Therefore, society reacts with aggressiveness. Call the free of irresponsible, calls the simple miserable, call the lonely failed, all to protect the narrative that there is no other way, but there is. And the few who have already crossed know that freedom cannot be taught by words. It can only be lived. This is why free bother, because they are living evidence that is possible. Thoreau, in his loneliness, not only wrote about nature, he wrote about the lie of civilization. And it is this lie that is still repeated today, only with different clothes. Before they were factories, now they are screens. Before they were iron chains, now they are invisible algorithms. But the essence is the same: control. And each time a stranger becomes mirror, control shakes. Because the truth need not be defended, just be seen. And when seen, it can never be forgotten. And maybe you have already felt this. By finding someone who lives outside the script, something inside you awakens. A strange jealousy mixed with fascination. It is as if a part of yours shouted, "This is also possible for me." This scream is dangerous, because if you decide to listen to you, your life will no longer be the same. And if you decide to ignore it, you will live forever with the shadow of a and if. Long pause in conspiracy. In the next chapter, I will reveal you the supreme price of freedom, what every spirit awakens needs to face, the death of an identity that has never been yours. The necessary death. Have you ever realized that every true transformation begins with a death? I do not speak of the death of the body, but the death of something much more intimate, the identity that was never yours. Since childhood you have been shaped. You have learned what is right, what is wrong, what is successful, what is failure. He was trained to believe that life is a ladder, climbing, climbing, climbing. But no one said that, at the top, there is nothing but empty. The secret of freedom is that to reach it, you need to let the character the world built on you die. And this is terrifying, because this character is comfortable. It is predictable, accepted, understood, but it is also the heaviest current you carry. Modern life insists that you must be someone. Some productive, someone desirable, someone recognized. But what if true freedom is precisely not to be anyone? In being only presence, consciousness, existence. Thoreau abandoned the mask of the respectable citizen to live like himself, and it was in this abandonment that he found a life that was worth it. Society saw him as killed for the world, but he was more alive than ever. You will also have to die. Die to the ego inflated by the comparisons. Die to the insatiable desire for validation. Die to the illusion that the meaning of life is in what others think of you. And here is the paradox. This death is the birth of its true life. When the character falls, there is only what has always been there, the essential, silent, eternal being. And this being doesn't have to prove anything. No need to win anything, no need to run anywhere. But beware, this death hurts. It is a real mourning. You will be afraid, empty, confusion. You will wonder who it is if you have lost something, it went crazy. But all this is just the delivery of a new consciousness. And when you cross this process, you will realize that the whole modern life is just a theater, and that the audience is still attached to the show, while you have already left the back door, free. The death of the character is the most radical revolution that someone can live, and it is also the most silent, because no one will see. The change happens inside where the eyes of the world do not reach. Slow pause, almost a whisper. In the next chapter, I will show you what is born after this death. Such a simple state, so full, that the word freedom itself seems small to describe it. The birth of true freedom. After the character's death, something unexpected happens. A silence takes over. Not the oppressive silence of the loneliness that frightens, but a fertile silence, like the soil after the rain. And in that silence, you begin to feel life in a way that had never felt. The simplest things, those that the rush of modernity had erased, reappear with an indescribable force. The smell of wet earth, the brightness of a star in the sky, the wind that touches your face, they are no more distractions. They are revelations. You find that you don't have to conquer the world, because the world was already here all the time. And that, deep down, life is not a race, but a moment. An eternal moment you had forgotten to dwell. True freedom is not a scream. It is a whisper. It is not a trophy. It is a state. It does not need to be defended, because it cannot be taken. It is born when you realize it was already free from the beginning. I just didn't believe it. Thoreau, before his cabin, wrote that happiness is not doing, but being. And now you understand, because without the weight of the character, you no longer need to prove anything. You do not need to be seen, accepted, or applauded. You just exist, and that is enough. But there is a detail that few understand. True freedom is not comfortable. It does not come with manual or guarantees. It requires you to be sustained in yourself without crutches. And that responsibility scares. Therefore, many take a step back when they taste for freedom for the first time. But if you dare to stay, something extraordinary happens. Life, which once seemed a succession of obligations, reveals itself as a gift. Each moment is no longer half and becomes end. Each breath is sufficient. Each meeting is eternal. And that's where the inevitable question arises. If freedom is so simple, why do you almost find it? The answer is tough, because most prefers the security of prison to the uncertainty of freedom. The prison offers routine, status, approval. Freedom offers only yourself, raw, authentic, whole. And you? Will you choose the comfortable cell or the open sky, even if empty? Long pause as if you prepare the outcome. In the next chapter, I will show you the last step, the final revelation of the secret that modern life has hid from you. And if you have the courage to hear, you may never be able to return to normal again. The final revelation: you have come here, and that already makes you different. Most give up halfway because they fear facing what you just crossed: silence, loneliness, the death of the character. But you remained, and now you can see what has always been hidden: the secret of modern life. The secret is simple, too simple to be believed. And precisely for that, almost no one notices. Modern life built a maze of distractions, debts, and desires, so that you never discover the truth. Freedom is not out, but inside you. You don't have to expect a revolution, a perfect opportunity, a right time. No more diplomas, more money, more recognition. All of this are currently disguised chains. The true revolution happens the moment you choose no longer a slave of what you never needed. Modern life trained you to seek happiness in the future. When I have it, I will be happy. But happiness is not in tomorrow. It's here, now, just as you breathe. And perhaps this is the greatest liberation, to realize that there is nothing to conquer, just something to remember. Remember that you are already whole. Remember that you are already free. Remember that the secret has never been hidden from the world, but from yourself. Thoreau wrote, "I went to the forest because I wanted to live deliberately." And maybe this is the phrase that summarizes everything. It is not about abandoning the city or destroying civilization. It is about choosing every day to live consciously, cease to exist on autopilot, and finally start living. And now, you need to decide. Are you going back to the routine as if nothing had happened? Or will it allow this secret to become action in your life? Dramatic break, low voice. If you felt this call, don't ignore it. The system will try to pull you back, but you already know too much to be fooled. And remember, the real prison is not the walls out there, but the invisible currents within you, and only you can choose to break them. If this video made you think, feel, or if at some point you played your soul, leave the like now because it helps this message reach more people who need to wake up. Subscribe to the channel to continue this journey with me. Share with someone you feel that you are ready to hear this truth. And if hype is available, activate, because together we can turn this message into motion. That was just the beginning. In the next video, I will reveal how to apply these principles of freedom in the practice of your daily life. And I promise, if you follow, you'll never look at life the same way. If this video woke up something to you, don't let this call die. Leave the like now, because it helps this message break the silence and reach more people who are still stuck. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell, because this was just the first revelation, and in the next video we will dive even deeper into this journey of freedom. Share with someone you feel that you can no longer stand in automatic. And if the hype is available, click, because the more people come together, the stronger the revolution of silence becomes. Remember, modern life doesn't want you to know that, but now you know, and knowing is already the first step to be free. We see each other in the next video.